All right, well, good evening and welcome to the FSU College of Education student Q&A panel. We're so glad to have you with us tonight to learn more about what it's like to be a graduate student here at Florida State. During this session, you'll hear from some of our current graduate students, and they're going to share some more about their journeys and what led them to FSU, and you'll also have the opportunity to ask them some questions at the end. So at this time, I'd like to introduce our students. First up, we have Kendra Bumpus. Kendra, if you want to introduce yourself.
Hi, everybody. Like she said, my name is Kendra Bumpus. I use she, her pronouns. I'm a fourth year in the higher education program within the Leadership and Policy Studies department.
All righty. And we have Demetrius Rice.
Greetings, everyone. My name is Demetrius Rice, and I'm a fifth-year doctoral candidate in the Instructional Systems and Learning Technologies program, which is part of the Educational Psychology and Learning Systems department.
Alrighty, next we have Shada Usal.
Hey everyone, this is Shada Uysal, and I'm a fourth-year PhD student in School of Teacher Education, and I'm an international student, grad student from Turkey, and my focus is on mathematics education, and this is my fourth year. Maybe I told this already.
Next is Addie McConomy.
Hello, this is my third year working on a PhD in the School of Teacher Education, specifically special education.
And Alex Moran.
My name is Alex. I'm a second year PhD student in the Education Policy and Evaluations program.
And last but not least is Brooke Brennan.
Hi everyone, my name is Brooke. I am in my first year of the Sport Management Master's program. I also did my undergrad here at Florida State, so this is my fifth year here.
Wonderful. Well, thanks everybody again for joining us. The first kind of topic of discussion is what's your favorite part about your program and the College of Education? Kendra, if you want to start us off.
Yeah, for sure. So for me, this is going to sound really vain and I don't mean it to, but I really, the favorite part that I have is that I was able to study what I wanted to. In talking to some of my peers, I realized that they were often put on somebody else's project. And for my dissertation, I wanted it to be a topic I already liked and knew about. And so I was able to do that. The other piece is our alumni network within my field. It's super vast. We actually have the ASH executive director, ACPA president, somebody who works for NASPA. So some of our major conferences and pieces. And so, our alumni and current students get to connect via our Hardy LifeNet. And so that's really important to me. And I will pass it to Brooke.
Similar to Kendra, I love sport management because you get to study a lot of what you want to study. But for me, the best part is the staff and the variety of courses offered. The staff are very supportive and they're with you there every step of the way. And they're truly your biggest fans while you're here and the best resources. So it has been a true blessing to have them all with us. And I will pass it to Alex.
So my favorite part of the program so far has been probably the size of it. I'm in a particularly small program where my cohort was only 5 people. So when it's a smaller group, you can build a little bit stronger relationships with people but also faculty as well. So I've been really liking that. Also with the kind of smaller group of people, leads to more opportunities. So I'm quite involved with like some of the outside of my dissertation, outside of my class stuff. This is one of those examples. So I really like those kind of increased opportunities and increased relationships. Sorry, I'll pass to Addie.
I was going to say, I agree that to me, our department of special education has a very familial atmosphere. The professors and students value your balance between school and home. I don't think that is necessarily true in all degree programs across the country. I think that Florida State does a really good job assuring the faculty that they want students to have a balance between life and home. All of the professors are very approachable. And Demetrius, why don't you go next?
Thank you. I think similar to what Kendra said about the alumni connection that we have here, we actually meet monthly. And there's also we have a alumni mentorship program that runs throughout the year. So there's a very strong connection between what you're doing now and what's happening in the professional world. And, you know, when it comes to jobs, that's a very big plus when you're able to communicate with people who are in the field and actually doing the things that you're studying about now. So I think that's my favorite aspect of the program. And did everybody go yet? Sorry.
Shada.
It's my turn.
Awesome.
Thanks. My favorite part, actually, I will echo most of what you said about research. It's very interdisciplinary work. I have had a chance to work as an NSF-funded project for 3.5 years, and it was a valuable experience for me to become a researcher. And as a person who is coming from a not very heavy, research backgrounds, and also just to add on what you said, as an international student from Turkey, I felt this, feeling of isolation sometimes, but FSU is amazing about that because of their Center for Global Engagement. They have some events for international students, but not for just them. It's for all, and it's open to anyone at campus. And you can go there and meet with different people from different programs. It was one of the amazing thing, my favorite parts, other than my research engagement at FSU. And also, these resources, the library resources, are really essential for people, especially with doing research. You have to engage with a lot of, article. You need to find books, article, and they are mostly very expensive. So it's really good that FSU provide free access to all these, and they have do their best to bring those resources that you need from outside of school too.
Excellent. So next question is, what is your favorite spot on campus, whether that's in the College of Ed or somewhere else? We'll start with Addie this time.
I was going to say, well, it's not exactly where I'm sitting, but I should add to that. I have office space, and I think that that's something that's really positive about the College of Education. They work hard to provide office space to PhD students. My favorite spot on campus, though, is Legacy Walk, which is a specific sidewalk on Wednesdays. They do a really great job of creating like this community environment, and all sorts of different organizations and clubs and vendors are there. I love the opportunity to see all of the undergrads experience, doing all those things. Today they had puppies and pumpkins, and you could get your picture made. It was super, super cool. And let's go to Alex.
I kind of wish I went first because my answer is actually exactly the same thing. So I really like I really like my office. I was fortunate enough, my advisor was actually a department chair, so she got a second office, and so I used her first office for the past 2 years. That is changing in a month, so I'm trying to use it up while I can. I really enjoy my office. It's a nice quiet space. I can leave the door open, I can close my door. But I've also heard very positive things about like the study carrels. So most grad students, at least in my department, do not get a like single occupant office. Most are kind of in the like grad student study area. But I've heard very good things about that. It's a very quiet space, a very like respectful space. But in addition to that, I also enjoy that Legacy Walk area. I make that walk on Mondays. I have a class over in Bellamy Hall, which is kind of a little more toward the center of campus, whereas the like Stone Building's kind of like on the edge, like tucked up in the corner by the med school. And so I enjoy that walk as well. It's like nice kind of tree, like canopy, and like the bricks are nice. And it's just like a kind of a peaceful walk, like to and from that class on Mondays to start the week. Kendra.
Well, FSU has really changed during my time there. And so I think it's hard for me to pick one. I think iconically, I either got to go with the fountain that's right outside of the President's Building, or Landis Green if you're trying to just chill and watch what's happening, particularly with the undergrads. Landis Green is one of our really nice green spaces on the east side of campus, and it faces the library, or it faces kind of our old traditional residence halls back when we were a women's college, and it's so beautiful. Also, I just have to say, I love Stone. It's pretty, it's close to the med school, which has its own green space and a place where you can go and get coffee. And I can find parking pretty easy close to Stone. I spend a lot of time there. So again, I think it's really pretty. It's always my background. Shada.
I think, yeah, what you mentioned is my also favorite place, but just considering the Stone, I really like the new design. You know, they have large windows facing to what is it called, West Coast Street, I guess. And I like to sit there in afternoon when I want to take a break, just to watch, you know, outside the trees and just encountering with some of my peers while I'm sitting there. So it's really peaceful environment for me. Sorry, I am popcorning to Brooke.
Thank you. Everywhere that they set on campus is great. And in addition, one of my favorite places is the Donald L. Tucker Civic Center. This is where the men's and women's basketball play, but also they have a bunch of events all days of the week, all the time. So these could be concerts, these could be conferences. It's a really cool building and you can learn a lot while you're in there. It's not exactly to study, but it's more of a communal space to meet. And with that, Demetrius, what is your favorite place on campus?
This may sound like a bit of a shameless plug, but it's the Technology Sandbox where I'm sitting at right now. I also work here. This semester, I assumed the supervisory role of the Technology Sandbox. And it's also my office too. So I did start off in the graduate carol space, and I will echo, I think someone said earlier that they're pretty good about finding you space here to work. But as far as the Technology Sandbox, you can see I'm sitting in the room with 3D printers and 3D scanners and stuff like that, but it's directly tied to my research and my professional goals. I will also say that I am eagerly waiting the completion of our new student union. You know, I think that it'll probably be one of the more superior ones, you know, in the state as far as like the different universities I've been to. You can kind of see the perspective drawing. So that'll probably be my second place once they get it finished. So I think it's like spring or summer next year.
Okay. Next is, what piece of advice do you have for future students who are considering the FSU College of Ed? We'll start with Brooke.
So this is my first semester in the College of Education. I did my undergrad in College of Communications, and something about the College of Education is that they provide so many more resources than students will ever know about. So my kind of advice would be to explore all the resources, organizations, clubs, departments that you can get involved with, because the College of Education is very expansive and they have many resources to meet all the needs that you have, but also to enjoy your studies further. So my advice would be just get very involved. I've loved it so far, and I will pass it to Addie.
I will expand on that and say my best advice is to read all the communications and the announcements from the university, because the university at large has just countless opportunities to be involved and engaged. And I was just thinking, this Friday night, you could go to the circus, which I think there's only 2 universities that have a circus, right? You could go to the baseball field and watch a Halloween movie, or you could go to the symphony. All of those are events for Florida State students. So my advice would be to make sure that you utilize all of the resources. And we'll go to Kendra.
For me, one of the big questions that I tend to get is, you know, maybe my GPA doesn't meet the minimum requirement, or for us, the GRE is waived for master's students and we have a waiver option for our PhD students. But, you know, maybe if the GRE score isn't quite where it needed to be, in the past, people are like, does that mean I'm automatically done? Like, I really want to go to Florida State. Am I done? And I said, no. Apply. Talk about your experience in your application to tell us maybe why that happened, because our faculty actually do read them. They read your personal statements. They want to bring in a diverse group of students. And sometimes that means picking the hard science major who maybe didn't have the GPA requirement, but they learned that they didn't have the GPA requirement because they weren't invested and they wanted to come in and come into higher education or come into, whatever field it may be. So apply. If you really want to come to FSU, apply. So that's me. And I am going to kick it to Demetrius.
I would say one of the things I did was, if you see a program that you are kind of interested in, or just you want to know more about, reach out to the faculty member, and that's one of the things that I did, and they responded immediately, and we actually met and had a very lengthy conversation. And so it let me know what type of treatment I was going to get, as a student. And even, I'm pretty sure that even if the program that you're that the faculty members are part of may not be the correct alignment, they will work with you to get you to where, something that's probably more suitable too. And on top of that, my GR scores probably weren't where they needed to be, but because of the interaction I had with the faculty, they were able to hear my story, as Kendra said, and make a more determination whether I'm going to be able to be persistent and be successful in the program too. So, reach out to them, and I'm pretty sure you'll get a response from the faculty in the College of Education. And I will pass it to Alex.
So I'll I'll add something to this, and I'll have like an original thing. I would say also reach out to grad students if you can. Obviously this is a panel of current grad students, but I would love to help any way I can, but I'm also like, if you aren't interested in working with someone specific to my department, I can't really help out too much with that, but like, reach out to grad students. A lot of, I don't know if Florida State does, but places will, publish grad student names. If you are really interested in working with a specific professor, for example, my advisor is Dr. Akiba. So if any of you are interested in the ed policy program, and specifically Dr. Akiba, reach out to me. I'm more than happy to answer questions, but it's important to get that view of, cool, you can see the research that's happening online, but what is that person like? What's their personality? How do they interact with their advisees? If they're having a bad day, how do they deal with their own bad days? Because those are the things that will really make or break your program, is that relationship with your advisor. So reach out to the grad students that are working with the faculty that you're interested in, because they're going to give you the insights that are just not publishable online. They're not going to be on any biography or any CV or anything like that. But my original piece of advice here is, challenge yourself. Just under the assumption that all of you get into hopefully this program and all come here, but whatever program you get into, challenge yourself, right? Like, GPA doesn't matter anymore. Like, you're in a, terminal degree, whether it be master's or a doctoral program, you're in a terminal degree most likely. So no one really cares about GPA anymore. No one really cares about the grades. Like, you can skate by and you're going to get a B at least. You don't really have to do much. You're probably going to get a B. So you're going to have the GPA to get a job, but challenge yourself, right? Go a little extra further, do the extra reading, be a part of extra things, do these extra, my cat's jumping on me right now. Do the extra Q&A sessions, be a part of Student Leadership Council, and see what your full capacity is, because that's where you're really going to learn the most. Let's see, here's my cat's go. But that's where you're going to learn the most, and that's where you're going to kind of see what your full potential is. So again, just extend yourself and challenge yourself. Shada, sorry.
Yeah. After maybe just research related advice, there are a lot of different opportunities at FSU for undergrad students as well, especially for research. There's called Europe Undergrad Research Opportunity Program, and it's very valuable to connect with professors if you are interested in doing research, or if you are interested in exploring what you might potentially want to do in the future. I suggest you to explore their website, and they have a lot of information about what it is and how to start with this collaboration. And I'm also mentoring 2 undergrad students and helping them with their research endeavors. So it's really valuable for us as a grad students or faculty, as well as for undergrad students to make sense what they want to do and how research looks like, even just to understand how it looks like from outside. It might be valuable. Other than maybe also another thing is definitely this social event I call like coffee hours by CG. It's very valuable to meet with people with different backgrounds and gaining more perspectives, how people from other countries doing, and maybe how they feel. If you're interested about this diversity piece, it's also a very valuable place to be, maybe.
Excellent. Well, thank you guys. At this time, we're going to open it up for questions from our prospective students. So if you guys have any questions, feel free to either unmute yourself and shout it out or drop it in the chat. Don't be shy.
Can I go?
Hi, Tom.
Hey, hey, how's it going? I'm interested in the distance learning, the instructional systems learning technology. I was wondering how well the reputation for Florida State is received, or how well job placement is for students who are not in Florida, but may be still in the Southeast or somewhere else out in the country, and how, like Demetrius was mentioning about alumni connections meeting monthly and meet throughout the year. How does that work with the distance students?
Well, I'll let Demetrius answer, but I will definitely jump in and say they're currently ranked #1 in the country. So pretty good, I'd say, reputation-wise. Good choice. Go ahead, Demetrius.
Yeah, as far as job placement, I have heard great stories about students who, even before they have finished the program, they've already got either an internship or some type of opportunity to work with a potential company that they're going to be placed at, and then they make the transition into the company once they graduate. I rarely hear of anybody that, like, now when it comes to pursuing like a tenured professor track, that's a job in itself. That it is what it is. But as far as on the practical side of things, if you're working in an organization in industry, we have a lot of alumni all over the world. That's a big part of us meeting monthly. It's what's called the Alumni Student Knowledge Exchange, and that's where a lot of information is passed back and forth, where I think every month when we meet, I have some potential opportunity in terms of job placement after I leave here. So it just depends on where, what your constraints are. If you're out of state and you want to remain where you're at, I'm pretty sure there's somebody in your area, that's, like in our field that's located there. If you want to relocate, I'm pretty sure that, we can make that connection as well, too.
Okay, great. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Any other questions? So Ashley says, hi, I was just curious what the biggest change is going from undergraduate school to graduate school. Brooke, you want to take that one?
Yeah, definitely. So I'm again in my first semester of my master's, and I would just say the biggest change is kind of what your focus is. I felt like undergrad was a little bit of everything, and once you get into graduate school, you're a little bit more focused. You dedicate more time to school, you're more interested in it, you get to explore more of what you truly would like to learn about and get more involved. So I would just say the focus shifts a little bit more from the scatter of undergrad into a more focus in graduate school that you're willing to put in that more time and effort towards. But also in graduate school, I'm finding that I truly enjoy school. I absolutely love school now, and I never thought that I would say that. But just because you're so focused and you have so many resources at your disposal, graduate school has really been that, laser focus on what's ahead instead of trying to figure out a little bit of everything.
Awesome. I just dropped a link in the chat. It's a page for FAQs related to graduate school. And one of those is kind of the transition from going from undergrad to grad school. A couple of articles on there that might be helpful to you. Other questions?
Yes. I know Demetrius mentioned how the experience and interaction he had with the faculty prior to kind of let him know how he would be treated once he got into FSU. Is there any, for the rest of the panel, is there any other things that kind of like made FSU stand out to other programs that you were looking at prior to actually enrolling?
I will say that I found Florida State to be less like competitive than other school, not competitive as far as like ranking. Florida State's obviously top 20 university, public university in the United States. I mean, competitive amongst students. I think some of the other programs you see, and that was a big thing that drew me here, right? So I think a lot of the other programs you see where there's a lot, it seems like maybe there's fewer opportunities, maybe because we're such a big university and such a big school and such a strong college, we have more opportunities, but that stands out to me. I think you could go to other big research-driven institutions and find that they value competition amongst graduate students more. And here at Florida State, they really value collaboration amongst graduate students.
Jeannie's question about sports psychology, class schedule, and student demographics. Great questions. I don't think we have any sports psych students here on this session, but Jeannie, I encourage you to register for Ed Psych and Learning Systems information session that's happening tomorrow morning from 9 to 11. We'll have sports psychology faculty there, and they could absolutely answer those questions for you. So if you haven't registered, I'm dropping the link in the chat now. You can also, sorry, go ahead.
So I have some friends who are in the sports psych program.
Okay, perfect.
If you're looking for either master's or doctoral level, classes are the same. So just maybe that's something to talk about for a second, but master's and PhD students or EdD or anything, the classes are not different. Everybody takes the same classes. But in terms of like class Monday through Friday, they're not in class Monday through Friday. I think Kendra put something in there like 3 hours, one time a week. So at least most grad students, I believe, at least at the PhD level, are 9 credit hours. There's some like weird nuances when you start becoming like a full-time employee at the university, and then you're like kind of using that, but I'll leave that for later. So like all my friends who are in the sports psych, they have like a 3-hour class on Tuesday night. And I think they have like maybe like an hour and a half class like Monday, Thursday. But it's not like it's definitely not like a high school schedule where you're in a classroom Monday through Friday, like 8 to 3. And it's even less so undergrad, where like maybe you had a class Monday, Tuesday, Thursday, Friday, or like Monday, Wednesday, Friday. It's not like that schedule at all. It's once a week, maybe twice a week for that class. I hope that helped.
And sometimes they switched up. And so you're like, our department sends out a 3-year class schedule. So that way you can always make sure, hey, I really want to take that class, but maybe I don't have room for that in my program of study right now. So, we can, check out when the next time that's going to be offered. So maybe it's not offered this fall, but it'll be offered next spring, kind of a thing.
Good questions. Anybody else have a question? Ooh, excellent. Sydney, what's the most important thing to focus on in an application and things to emphasize? Who wants to tackle that one? All right, Kendra, you're up.
Cool. I actually, they haven't let me sit in because that would not be appropriate, but I get to help prepare some stuff for our admissions meetings, which is when they look over applications. And so I think it's really cool, the time and investment the faculty take to read your personal statement. Hear me say, personal statements do not have to be perfect, because no person is perfect. And if you are, then you don't need to come to grad school. But they really do want to know about you and your journey. So talking about that is really important. If you're supposed to provide a writing sample or something like that in like a PhD mode, show them one of your papers. Again, it doesn't have to be your A+++ paper. Maybe it's just an A paper where you show some room for growth, but you're able to show what you've done thus far. And maybe it's an area where you're interested in, so that way they can help connect you to somebody to help guide your dissertation. As a master's student, it's really important to think about how long you want to be in the program. Like, do you want to go from your master's straight to a doc? Do you want to do a master's and then work a little afterwards? So look for all of those pieces and talk about that journey. And if you don't know, that's okay too. You don't have to have your life planned out for the next 10 years to come to grad school. Like, I don't know about y'all, but sometimes we come to grad school because we don't know what we want to do in our life next. But just be honest in your application, in that personal statement. And to me, that really is a defining factor.
I'll echo that a little bit. The journey piece of it. So I'm not on the application, like the student application committees, but I'm on a couple, like one faculty search committees. And so I get to talk to some of the professors about some pieces that just are not always talked about. And this is one of them. And so their big thing is, how is this program a part of your journey? It's not the end of your, no matter if you know what your journey is or if you don't know what your journey is going to be, like, this is not the end of it. So how is what you've done so far, how is that going to move you into the program? And then what do you want to do afterwards? Again, you don't have to commit to it. You're not committing to a career for the rest of your life based on your personal statement and your grad application, right? But, brainstorm ideas, like even like brainstorm them in the personal statement. Talk about like, well, okay, I'm interested in this path. I'm interested in this other pathway. How is this program going to help you move in those?
Alex, you muted.
How long was I muted for? Like the whole thing?
No, like 10 seconds.
Okay. All right. So I guess in summary, I'll make it. So like, how is the department going to benefit your progression throughout your life? And that, but also because it's a relationship, like, how are you going to benefit the department, right? What do you bring to it? And how are you going to make it better? And so I think just those two pieces, what's the relationship between you and the department going to look like after you're here?
Another good question. What do you appreciate most about the faculty in your program? Addie, you want to start?
Sure. So this one has a very clear-cut answer for me. Special education faculty are very genuinely some of the leading experts in the field. The Florida Center for Reading Research is based here. So if you are on the call and you're interested in the education side of the College of Education, the partnership that we have with the Florida Center for Reading Research really elevates the faculty that we're able to attract. And so we have just some of the very best faculty in their fields here. They are very accessible. So sometimes you kind of have to pinch yourself to realize that we're talking to like the leading experts in educating students with autism, and their door is 2 doors over and it's wide open, all afternoon.
I can kind of speak to that. Very similar in our program, that a lot of the cited work, the original work in our field came from a lot of the professors right here at FSU. And so, it's a big deal, especially when you go to the international conferences. They're like all-stars, when you show up with these professors that you see pretty much every day. But also they're very approachable. I don't think in every graduate program in other universities or other colleges that you can even speak directly to certain faculty members unless you've been there for like a couple of years and maybe published an article or two or done some type of research. But from day one, every faculty member I know in my program and even in other programs around the College of Ed have been very approachable as well.
I also like to add something from my perspective as a person who maybe you might change your interest on the way, you might be interested in something else at the beginning and you might have a chance to work with that. But the faculty can be very creative about directing you some other opportunities that arise. For example, for me, I was able to work as a research assistant at a project, and then also I was able to teach a course for a semester, and then also I had a chance to work in another project. So I was able to work with different type of research, which helped me to gain more understanding about how different professors work and how they collaborate with each other and how grad students collaborate with each other. So I think I appreciate their proactivity about that, and they can see your interests are changing, or they are really expert in identifying your needs, in my case especially. So maybe I can see the reflection, how it might look like in undergrad or master level. I think they are also doing the similar effort to meet your expectations as students.
Can I add one quick thing? I'm sorry to cut it, who I was going to cut off, but funding. All right. I know that's a big thing as a grad student is funding. And I haven't heard any student in my program, master's or doctorate, struggling because the faculty really do search high and low, and a lot of alumni give back, but they make sure whether it's, you need funding to go to a conference or, just general scholarship money just to get through the semester, tuition waiver, graduate assistant, tuition, teacher's assistants. They really do work hard to make sure that everybody is taken care of. So that's another big plus in terms of what I like about the faculty here.
Yeah, shameless plug. We give out more scholarships than any other College of Ed in Florida. So it's a big point of pride for us. We gave out over 600 grand last school year. So, and it keeps going up and up because our alumni and donors are fabulous people. So ask and ye shall receive for the most part. Any other questions you guys have? These are all great so far. All right, Lupita asks, what are some ways you could get involved with the College of Education? I want to go into elementary ed, looking to get more involved with the college. Excellent. One way is our Student Leadership Council, which you have 3 of those members with us today. But we have a ton of different student organizations that are housed right here in the College of Ed. And I'll drop the link in the chat really fast. If you guys kind of want to talk a little bit more about SLC, Alex, you can start it off.
Yeah. So the SLC is like represented, or like a, I guess, liaison from the students to the dean's office. So myself and Brooke and Shada are 3 of the current members this year. It's been a really positive experience for me. I don't want to speak for Brooke or Shada on there. I'm hoping they're in agreement with me, but it's been really positive for me. One, just getting to know some other people, 2, kind of getting to see some inner workings, and I feel like we really have actually done some stuff. I feel like sometimes these committees are a little bit more in name only, but we just finished a student appreciation event last week, and I think that was really successful. It seemed like a lot of students really liked that. We had some therapy dogs floating around. We gave out little snacks and little post-it notes. So if you're in Tallahassee and you want to see some of the post notes, they are still up, but they're kind of falling down now, so they're just post-it notes. But that, and we have some networking stuff coming up that we're kind of in the middle of planning, and it's been really nice to meet other people in other departments, right? I don't know if, especially I'll use Brooke as an example because she's over in Tully. You know, that's I probably would not have met Brooke if not for the SLC, just because we're not really in the same building. So that's been a really like kind of positive piece for me.
Yeah, and I agree 100%. The Student Leadership Council is a great way to meet people who basically represent their programs throughout the College of Education, because there is quite a few programs within the College of Education. So it's a great way to kind of mix and mingle between all those people, to go ahead and meet new professors, to network with other people, and to kind of be a voice for your department within the College of Education as a whole, and to have that representation. But like Alex said, it's been a great way to meet new people and to get more involved in the College of Education, because they do have so much to offer.
Absolutely. Sydney, I have one more question. How are your relationships with the people in your cohort? Does FSU try to foster a close community within cohorts? I would say from the college as a whole, absolutely. Cohorts are pretty tight knit. Kendra, if you want to start off with higher ed specifically, go for it.
Yes, we 100% run a cohort model. As a master's students, your first year, 3 of 3 classes, you are in the same classes. And then in your second year, 2 of those 3 classes, generally you're in the same class. And it kind of runs the same way for docs. Generally, you know, your first year, 3 of 3, second year, 2 of 3, third year, 1 of 3, because we have 3 years of classes, and then we get into candidacy. It's really nice. We miss each other right now because I'm in dissertation phase. We are each other's biggest cheerleader, and I will honestly say that we have gotten to know each other's topics, or at least areas of interest. And so sometimes we're like, hey, I saw this article, I thought it could be a resource, which is the academic equivalent of giving each other a hug, in my little opinion. So for us, our cohorts are very tight knit. We intentionally do things to help with that. So like our Higher Education Student Association, which is our organization and leadership group within our higher ed program, actually work to help foster that as well. So I will say cohorts can be a blessing or a curse. I say that just in all honesty, because sometimes we get along with people in our cohorts and sometimes we don't. And either way, that's okay. Because at the end of the day, we're all going through the same things and nobody else gets it like the people in our cohort. So that's my 2 cents.
The School of Teacher Education uses a cohort model too for master's students and PhD. And an interesting thing about the way that they fund PhDs is a lot of us are funded on grants from the federal government. And when they get those grants, they bring in like 5 students at a time, all under that same grant. So that becomes your cohort. And the School of Teacher Education, because it is a strong school at a strong university right now, has several of those grants. So I'm on a special education one. So there's myself and 4 peers, but there's also one in communication sciences, and we're partnering with them. So that is cross-curricular. So we have classes with students from communications, and they are very intentional about providing opportunities for us to collaborate. They also do a great job with social events. So because we're all graduate students, old, they have lots of events for us at local restaurants and establishments.
I'll kind of speak to that, but from a different angle, because in my program, the Instructional Systems Learning Technology program, we don't have a cohort system. However, between the student organization that we have and just the even with the faculty in general, there is a very close network between the students, especially when it comes to you're up for going for prelims, whether you're working on your prospectus or you're doing a dissertation defense. There's an announcement that lets everybody know, hey, this person is going to be practicing. We want some feedback. I think I sat in on at least half a dozen dissertation defenses in my first year alone. And so that gave me an opportunity to see what's coming ahead. And a lot of our classes have multi-year in it. So you're going to have some students that first semester, some students a little further along, and that makes for a very dynamic type of conversation too. So that's just a different angle, but I think it speaks to the same comments as far as the closeness, the relationship among students. And like someone said earlier, I think it was Kendra, in terms of the, maybe it might've been Addie, about the cooperation between students. We share each other, like, what's your topic, right? Like, it's not a secret of what you're researching. We share. That way we can give advice to the person, or maybe that person can help us with our topic along. So that's something that's very unique in the program that we have here.
Excellent. Tom asks, do teachers communicate between classes regarding test dates or project deadlines so that different classes don't have multiple things due on the same day? I think you guys are the experts on this, whoever wants to jump in.
I'm not sure how much teachers communicate about that, but usually you have midterms around the same week or two. And sometimes projects and tests do fall on the same time. But usually what I've been experiencing is, you may have a project and a test in the same week on a Monday and Friday, but I don't know how much teachers talk and communicate about that, but usually your test weeks do line up with your other courses.
I can tell you, as somebody who TAs 2 classes and then helps faculty with some of their other things, they don't necessarily talk about test dates or big paper dates being due, but they do try to make a concentrated effort to make sure that, like, what I would call our MS1s, so our first year master students, don't have class on the same days. So that way they can like Tuesday is their day for this, or Thursday is their day for that. So that way, even if things are due kind of the same week, they've got a day or so to get things together. Like Brooke is saying, one interesting piece is that things do come due around the same time, and part of that is because the grad calendar looks different. So for, at least in our program, finals week is a dead week for us, because the week before finals is when our finals are due. Kind of the same thing around midterms. Like, we might have a small thing due around midterms, but we are not going to have anything big due from a teacher who's also teaching undergraduate classes. So like, they do kind of feel out their own schedules to make it make sense as much as they can for students.
I can't speak to, like, as far as professors outside of my program, it is what it is. But I know that a lot of the professors within my program, they know what each other's deliverables are for their course. But at the beginning of each course, there is an opportunity for us to kind of, have a consensus on, here's what is due, and here's the approximate timeline when it needs to be due. And we're allowed to kind of discuss, and maybe we can shift things up or move things around, or say, hey, we all are going to such and such conference, so can we push this back a little bit? So they've been very, open-eared about allowing us to be able to make adjustments, especially for the big, for the big major deliverables that you have in your course. So it is flexible, I guess the word would be.
Any other questions? Yes, good question, Kendra. If you guys just want to raise your hands or unmute yourselves and just kind of introduce yourselves and tell us a little bit about you and where you're from, that would be great. Tom, we can start with you if you'd like.
Hey, my name's Tom Whitehead. I've actually been accepted already to the ISLT program for my master's. And so I was just trying to get some more information from it. I've talked a lot to Mary Kate in the admissions, and she's been wonderful to talk to. And so I was just really interested in getting your guys' perspective. Like I said, I'm gonna be doing distance learning. I just moved from Atlanta to Tennessee. And so that's why I was trying to just see, what kind of the opportunities would be, especially from school, in Florida, Tennessee, what the reputation would carry in different employments past the college. I know that the program is rated #1 compared to other schools and stuff. So I'm very excited about the program, and I'm very appreciative of hearing all your guys' experiences.
Well, congratulations on your acceptance. We look forward to having you on campus maybe one day, or at least online.
Yes. Yes. Does anyone know of anyone who's done the distance program and master's online?
Yeah, one of our, she actually used to be a staff member in the dean's office. I don't know if she graduated yet, or if she's still in the program, but she was able to do it while working full time, and she's a rock star. So it's absolutely doable. They're kind of pioneers in online learning in that program. So it's absolutely a good program to do. They're the experts in it. So.
Oh, great. That's awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah, very excited about it. Thanks.
Thank you. Lupita, do you want to introduce yourself?
Yeah, I'm currently a freshman. It's my first year here at Florida State, and I'm interested in the elementary education program. And I'm kind of nervous about it. That's why I want to get more involved and see what the program has to offer, just familiarize myself with it.
Gotcha. So are you looking at our combined bachelor's master's program in elementary ed?
Yes, I am.
Excellent, excellent. I can send you a link to some more information, and as well as the admissions person, Mr. Amadon, and he can answer any and all questions you have about the whole process. He's wonderful.
Thank you so much.
Of course. Ash, do you want to start off? How about Tyler?
Yes, I'm actually interested in the school and the counseling and school psychology combined program. I actually graduate in the fall, so I'll be applying for next year. I'm from Texas, so actually any type of information on the state of Florida or Tallahassee would be very beneficial, because I've never been to Florida. I've only lived in Texas and Louisiana my entire life.
It's a great place to be. I'll drop a link in the chat here in just a second, a little bit more information about Tallahassee. I know Brooke and Alex both mentioned earlier, they both came from out of state. So if you guys want to jump in and kind of talk about your experience coming from out of state, transitioning to be an in-state student. Brooke, if you want to start off.
Yeah, definitely. So I'm from Chicago. So Tallahassee was complete opposite of everything that I knew. So I'm from a big city, and Tallahassee is kind of like a big city, but a small town at the same time. So I really enjoyed it. Definitely family culture. The people of Tallahassee are extremely close. It's a big community. There's lots of different things to do. A very, appeals to a diversity of things that you enjoy. So I love Tallahassee, and the Florida State community is really kind of what makes it. The transition here personally for me was not as difficult as I could have hoped, just because of all the resources and family atmosphere that they have here. And then so I did my whole undergrad here, and then my last year of undergrad, I got all the paperwork together and switched from out-of-state resident to in-state resident. So it's very easy to do. It takes 12 months of you living here to do. So that was helpful in that way. So if that's something you're looking into, Alex went through the process as well, and I'll let him talk about his experience.
Yeah, so I also moved from the Midwest. I grew up in Pennsylvania, but then I spent 10 years in Ann Arbor, Michigan, and then came down here. So coming down to Tallahassee, I came down my first year. So I'm a second year. So my first year was in the middle of the pandemic closure. So it was a little bit rough last year, at least socially, classes, maybe to touch on what Tom was asking about. So online learning, the entire university just went through the entire process of all the bumps and bruises with online learning last year for the entire college. And to be honest, I feel like most, not all, but most of those bumps and bruises have been kind of ironed out. But now kind of talking about moving down here, I really like Tallahassee now. It was rough last year. I didn't know anybody. A lot of stuff wasn't open, or I didn't have anybody to go with. But I'm, now that I've met people, and I'm meeting people in my program, and I started a part-time job. So, there's a lot of stuff, or a wide range of activities to do. So, if you like kind of the bar scene, there's Midtown, which is a really fun area. I really like that. It's a little more of the kind of like mature drinking scene as opposed to some of like the undergrad areas that I have now kind of outgrown. So like there's places like that, but if you like really outdoorsy stuff, there's a bunch of parks. Like I'm a big runner, so I've started to learn like the Miccosukee Greenway is really nice. There's Tom Brown Park. There's a lot of areas. There's like Lake Ella, which is up kind of in the Midtown area, which is really nice. There's some like kind of street vendors and activities, and you can like go onto the water and stuff. So there's quite a range of activities to do in the area. And then if you're willing to drive a little bit, we're not a oceanfront town, but I can get to St. George Island in like an hour and a half, hour 45, depending on if I'm driving or if my girlfriend's driving. I'm the hour 45, she's the hour and a half. But so it's it's Jenny knows who it is, so I think that's why she's laughing.
I won't say a word.
So there's a lot of opportunity for like activities down here, and now that like things are open, I'm meeting people, I'm starting to get more aware of those, and so it's growing on me. I'm starting to really like Tallahassee. But in terms of state residency, my biggest advice is just stay on top of it early. If you have, I think I used this term before everyone else kind of came in. I'm the poster child of the bumps and bruises for the in-state residency process. I had it rejected, and then I had my appeal. Like I had to like redo my appeal process after that. It was a mess. Just stay on top of it early, ask a lot of questions and make sure that you know what's expected of you for the in-state residency, and just do everything early, because it is a 12-month process, and you don't really realize that like you have to do stuff 12 months ahead of time, because you're just starting classes, you're just moving and stuff. So again, stay on top of it early.
Thank you, both of you.
I dropped a link in the chat to the residency info if you want to check it out if you guys are out of state. So just FYI.
I'll just do a quick piggyback on that. I'm originally from California, but I've been here for about 20 years. And I guess you call me a local now. I'm pretty much going to be here just based on my profession in education. But one thing you don't have to worry about is traffic. Compared to anywhere else, you're not going to have a traffic issue, even during the school year. That's probably the most that it gets busy. But, when you compare it to Texas, Atlanta, California, any of the major cities, that's not a problem here. And with it being Florida, I know the first thing that people think about is hurricanes, but having been here 20 years, I can say that Tallahassee has this sort of mystical, magical shield over it to where it may be a category 5 when it hits land, but by the time it hits us, it's maybe a tropical storm. And, we may have a power outage or two, but you won't see anybody in canoes rowing down the street, in floods in Tallahassee. So it has a very interesting environmental element to it here, So I just wanted to add that to the conversation as well.
You better not jinx us. All right. Sydney?
Hi, everyone. I'm Sydney. I'm interested in the master's in sports psychology. I'm at Florida State, and I'm originally from Cleveland, Ohio, so I'm also a Midwesterner. But I go to school in Virginia currently, so I'm an out-of-state student at my undergrad. But yeah, just looking forward to learning more about the program. I think I'm attending that session tomorrow for more of the sports psych stuff. So I'm excited to learn more.
Awesome. We're excited to have you. Benjamin?
Hello, I'm from Sarasota, and I'm interested in the mental health counseling program like ASH. And after hearing you guys talk, I'm definitely even more excited about it. I'm a senior, and I majored in science, so my GPA is at like a 3.025. So it definitely made me feel a lot better about that. But yeah, thank you.
Thank you. Jeannie? How about Ashley?
Hi, I'm sorry, I'm outside, so it's kind of loud because we're doing our football thing. But I'm Ashley, and I'm from Atlanta, Georgia originally, and currently go to Auburn. And I'm just interested in educational psychology, learning and cognition, and I'm just really interested to learn more about the program. And I lived in Tallahassee this past summer, so it was really fun to kind of learn about the city and just kind of get my bearings. And then I really liked FSU while I was there, so I wanted to learn more about the program. So thank y'all for all the information from the session.
Absolutely. Well, we're excited to have you back. Is there anybody else who wanted to introduce themselves that we missed? Go ahead, Jeannie, if you're ready.
Oh, hi. I was driving. Sorry, I just pulled over and trying to get the camera. Okay, so I'm actually a chiropractor, and I used to practice in Tallahassee, and then had a practice in Jacksonville, and just moved to Colorado Springs. So I've applied. I'd like to do a dual major in sports psych and exercise physiology to do more work with the Olympic team, because the Olympic Training Center is here in the Springs. So from what I understand is you can't do a dual major unless you're done with the first semester of your first major, and then you can apply for the second one. Is that correct?
Yes, let me double check. I'm looking on the grad schools page now. I'm brushing up on my policy, but I think that is correct. But yeah, essentially you're admitted to your first program, and then after your first semester, you can apply to your second program. So the key is you have to actually apply to both programs. You don't get to kind of sideways into the second one by virtue of being admitted to the first one. So it's essentially two separate applications, but yeah, it's absolutely an option.
Okay, so yeah, that's what I plan on doing, is applying to both programs. I know there's only, I think, 25 applicants allowed into the sports psych program, and I didn't find any facts about the exercise physiology. So as far as how many applicants they allow into the master's program, but yeah.
Well, welcome. We're excited to have you on board.
Thanks.
All right, we're just after 7 o'clock. So if we have any last minute questions, feel free to share. Don't be shy. All right, well, I think that about does it. Thanks again to everybody for joining us tonight. We can't wait to see you guys on campus. We have tomorrow our information sessions for the Department of Educational Psychology and Learning Systems from 9 to 11, and Department of Educational Leadership and Policy Studies from 4 to 5:30. Those are both Eastern time. We also have on Friday our in-person campus and building tours. So if you haven't registered for that yet, I encourage you to do so. We'd love to see your beautiful faces. But if there's no other questions, we're going to call it a wrap. Thank you guys. Have a good evening.